What's going on, everybody? Today we got a really quick unboxing video. Today we'll be unboxing the ZOOM MultiStream MS-60B. Alrighty, so this thing came in just a bubbler envelope, and I don't even need my box cutter because, like I say, it came in just a bubbler. I could see that it had no tape on it. As we can see here, take a look at the outside of the box. Alrighty. See what we got. Just kind of slides open over there. Got some plastic here that maybe I could have used the box cutter for that. I shall suffice. There's the actual unit itself. What else do we got here? Couple AA batteries. Yeah, because you can also run this off of a couple AA batteries as well as a 9-volt adapter. Alrighty. As we see, couple AA's to go with it. Kind of interesting that they put the instructions inside of... Okay, there's a little bit more than just instructions. Inside a little plastic wrap. Don't zap yourself with the adapter disclaimer. In multiple languages. Warranty card. Looks like support numbers for all the different potential places where it's going to be shipped to, different countries. Proper disposal of your electronics. And yeah, little manual, which I'm sure there's a PDF online for it as well too, if you don't want to actually sit here flipping through this, if you wanted to just look it up on your phone or something like that. Now, as far as the actual unit itself goes, very nice. Again, this is almost like my TC Electronics compressor. The one thing that's weird is you don't get that click. But yeah, it's very well built. It's all metal. As you can see, it can take a 9-volt adapter, or you can put in the 2 AA batteries that it included. Single mono input, stereo output. Yes, yes. Really looking forward to putting this into my rig. Alrighty. That about does it for this video. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. The ZOOM MS-60B, all the factory presets. Today, I'm going to be demoing all these sounds on my good old reliable Ibanez Soundgear Geo Series 6-string bass that's been modified all to hell with 2 EMG jazz pickups and a EMG P-bass pickup. I'm going to be using it in the position that has all 3 pickups going, the jazz bass in the neck and bridge and the precision bass pickup. Signal chain's going to be a little bit different. Again, I know I keep saying this over and over again. I only have 1 DI box. I need to get a second DI box. Signal chain's going to be a little bit different because of that. I'm going from the bass into the multi-stomp, out of the 2 1/4-inch stereo outputs into my interface, and everything you're hearing coming back is just the multi-stomp, no post-production whatsoever. All right, the first preset is called Mark Plus. All right, that was Mark Plus. Next up, we have Rock SVT. All right, that was Rock SVT. This one's called Slap. That was Slap. Dragon Wah. That was Dragon Wah. They called this one Sands Up. That was Sands Up. Flanger. That was Flanger. Octaver. That was the Octaver. Paul bass. That was Paul bass. This is Chopper 80. That was Chopper 80. Fat Drive. That was Fat Drive. Phase. That was Phase. Reggae. That was reggae. Red hot. That was red hot. Thumb wah. That was thumb wah. Reek set, which I think is short for recording set. Reek set. This one's called Jocko. That was Jocko. Heavy booty. That was Heavy Booty. This is Hello. That was Hello. This one's called Melody. That was Melody. This one's called Jet Fuzz. That was Jet Fuzz. This one's called Add Fourth Mellow. That was Add Fourth Mellow. This one's called Wrath. That was Wrath. This one's called Freak. That was Freak. This one's Hint-O-Phil. That was Hint-O-Phil. This one's called Time Travel. That was Time Travel. This one's called Dino Bass. That was Dino Bass. This is the Owl. That was the Owl. PB Clean. That was PB Clean. This is PB Fuzz J. That was PB Fuzz J. And last but most certainly not least, PB Old School. All right, that was PB Old School. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So, today we're going to be doing a review of the amp models on the Zoom MS-60B. I'm going to be using my Ibanez Geo Series 6-string bass that's got 2 EMG Jazz bass pickups and an EMG P bass pickup. I'll be using it in the position that has all 3 pickups going. Signal chain will be into the Zoom, out of the left and right 1/4-inch outputs, into the interface, and everything you're hearing back is just the Zoom MS-60B, no post-production whatsoever. Here's the sound of the bass, completely bypassed, just the bass direct itself. Here's the amp they call acoustic. That was acoustic. Here's AG amp. That was AG amp. This is B-Man. That was B-Man. This is flip top. That was flip top. G. Kruger. That was G. Kruger. This is Heaven. That was Heaven. This is Hartke 3500. That was Hartke 3500. Here's Mark B. That was Mark B. This is monotone. That was monotone, SMR. That was SMR, Super B. That was Super B. Last but not least, the SVT. That was the SVT. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So today we're going to be doing a review of the Overdrive / Distortion section of the Zoom MS-60B. I'm going to be using my Ibanez Geo Series 6-string bass, which has been modified with 2 EMG active jazz bass pickups and an EMG active precision bass pickup. I'm going to be setting the pickup selector in the position that has all 3 pickups going, both jazz bass pickups and the P bass pickup. The signal chain will be into the Zoom, out of the 2 left and right 1/4 inch outputs, into the interface, and everything you're going to be hearing back is just the Zoom unit with no post-production whatsoever. Here's the sound of the bass, completely bypassed with no effects or anything, just the bass direct. That's just the bass, direct, no overdrive or distortion or effects of any kind. Here's AC bass pre. That was AC bass pre. This is BA boost. That was BA Boost. This is BA Dis 1. That was BA Dis 1. This is BA Metal. That was BA Metal. BA Squeak. That was BA Squeak. This is BA Fuzz Smile. That was BA Fuzz Smile. This is Bass BB. That was Bass BB. This is Bass Muff. That was Bass Muff. Bass OD. That was bass OD. This is bass pre. That was bass pre. Here's bass drive. That's bass drive. This is DI plus. That was DI plus. This is DI 5. That was DI 5. Last but not least is TS plus dry. That was TS plus dry. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So today we're going to be doing a review of the modulation section on the ZOOM MS-60B. I'll be using my Ibanez Geo Series 6-string bass that's been modified with 2 active EMG jazz bass pickups and an EMG P bass pickup. I'll have the pickup selector in the position that allows for all 3 pickups going, both EMG jazz bass pickups and the EMG P bass pickup. For the signal chain, I'm going into the Zoom, out of the left and right 1/4-inch outputs, into the interface, and everything you're going to hear back is just the Zoom unit, no post-production whatsoever. Now, here's the unit bypassed, just my bass direct with absolutely no effects on it whatsoever. So that's just this bass, direct, completely bypassed, no effects whatsoever. This is Voice for Sin. That was Voice for Sin. This is Analog 2-3-4 Chorus. That was Analog 2-3-4 Chorus. This is Auto Pan. That was Auto Pan. This is BA Chorus. That was BA Chorus. This is BA D-Tune. That was BA D-Tune, BA Ensemble. That was BA Ensemble. This is BA Octave. That was BA Octave. This is BA Pitch. That was BA pitch. This is BA synth. That was BA synth. This is BA flanger. That was BA flanger. This is BA flanger 2. That was BA flange 2. This is bit crush. That was bit crush. This is bomber. That was called bomber. CE chorus 5. That was CE chorus 5. This is clone chorus. That was clone chorus. This is Corona chorus. That was Corona chorus. This is Corona try. That was Corona Try, D fret. That was D fret, duo phase. That was duo phase. This is duo trem. That was duo trem, dynamic flanger. That was dynamic flanger, phaser. That was phaser, pitch shift. That was pitch shift, ring mod. That was ring mod, RT closet. That was RT Closet. This is Standard Synth. That was Standard Synth. This is Stereo Chorus. That was Stereo Chorus. This is Stone Phaser. That was Stone Phaser. Super Chorus. That was Super Chorus. This is Synth Talk. That was Synth Talk. This is The Vibe. That was The Vibe, Tremolo. That was Tremolo. This is V-Synth. That was V-Synth. This is vibrato. That was vibrato. This is Vin Flanger. That was Vin Flanger. This is vintage CE. That was vintage CE. This is warp phase. That was warp phase. This is Z organ. That was Z organ. And last and most certainly not least, Z synth. That was Z-Synth. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So today, we're doing a review of the dynamics/filter section on the Zoom MS-60B. I'll be using my Ibanez 6-string Geo Series bass that's been modified with 2 EMG jazz bass pickups and an EMG P bass pickup. I'll be putting the pickup selector in the position that has all 3 pickups going, both jazz bass pickups and the P bass pickup. The signal chain will be into the Zoom, out of the left and right 1/4-inch outputs, into the interface, and everything that you're going to be hearing back is just the Zoom unit, no post-production whatsoever. Here's just the sound of my bass with the unit bypass, with no effects on it whatsoever. That's just the bass with the unit bypassed. Here is 160 comp. That was 160 comp. Here is a filter. That was a filter. This is BA cry. That was BA cry. This is BA GEQ. Now, for almost all of the sounds, since I don't want to make it too long of a video, I'm keeping all the effects on their defaults. But for all the equalizers, it has everything flat. So I'm going to adjust the tone of this a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of low frequency boosts here. Let's see what we got. Let's add a little 50 hertz boost. And then hair of 120. Let's hear how that sounds. All right, let's hear that with the EQ off. EQ off. EQ on. You can definitely hear the frequency difference there. Now, let's try rolling off that 50 hertz a little bit, and even the 120, and let's give it a little 4.5K boost. Now, without the EQ on. With the EQ back on again. You definitely hear a lot more snap in there because of the 4.5K boost. So that is BA GEQ. Here's BA PEQ. Once again, it's an equalizer. The defaults have it set flat, so I'm going to do a little bit of playing with the frequencies here. I'd say let's give this a 200 hertz boost. And you see the Q we got from 0.5 all the way up to 16. Let's go at 8. Let's crank the gain on that. See if we can hear anything different. With the EQ off with that same riff. With EQ back on again. All right. Let's turn that back down, or keep it roughly where it is, at about 5. Now, once again, let's try adding in a 1K boost. I like getting that 1K. It gives a lot more clarity to the bass, I believe, a lot more definition. Crank the hell out of the 1K. With the EQ off now. With the EQ back on again. That is BA PEQ. BA Auto Wah. That was BA Auto Wah. Bottom B. That was bottom B. This is decomp. That was decomp. This next sound is dirty gate. Obviously, it's a noise gate. So I've added the DI plus and cranked the gain, as you can see here, all the way up because, you know, you need something that's actually kind of noisy. So here it is without the gate. You can hear that buzz and hum coming through, eh? That's without the gate. Now, listen to what happens as soon as I activate the gate. Nice and quiet. Nice and quiet. That's dirty gate. This is dual comp. That was dual comp. This is exciter. That was exciter. This is F cycle. That was F cycle. This is gray comp. That was gray comp. This is limiter. That was limiter. This is line SEL. That was line SEL. This is M comp. That was M comp. This is M filter. That was M filter, noise filter. Once again, demonstrating a noise filter or noise gate makes no sense when using just a clean bass signal. So once again, I have added the DI plus and cranked the hell out of the gain. Now, I've got the noise gate on right now. I'm going to click it off and you'll be able to hear the noise that's coming from it. You can really hear that hum and buzz. Now, I'm going to click it on, and as soon as I do, you'll hear all that noise go away. Quiet as can be. That's noise gate. Optio comp. That was optocomp. Orange limb. That's orange limb. This is rack comp. That was rack comp. This is random filter. That was random filter. This is sequel filter. That was sequel filter. This is slow attack. That was slow attack. This is splitter. That was splitter. All right, now we got a stereographic equalizer. Once again, all the defaults have everything set just completely flat. So, going to do the same thing we did last time. First, we're going to boost a little bit of the 50 hertz and a little tiny bit of 120. All right, let's hear how that there sounds. Now we're going to take that EQ off. Put it back on again. All right, you can definitely hear the difference in the low frequencies there. Now, let's do what I like to do quite often and crank up the 4.5 kilohertz. Close to 1K is as much as you can do for a bass to give definition to be able to cut through that wall of guitars. Here it is with 4.5K also added quite a bit. Let's take the EQ off. EQ back on. All right, that's stereo bass equalizer. Z-Tron. That's Z-Tron. Last but not least, we got ZNR, which is basically another noise reducer gate type thing. Again, I have the DI Plus, as you can see, with the gain cranked all to hell. That's with the gate on. I'm going to click off the noise reducer. You're going to hear it right away. Quite a bit of hum on this one. That's without the ZNR engaged. As soon as I engage it, quiet as hell. All right. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the delay and reverb sections of the Zoom MS-60B. I'll be using my Ibanez Geo Series 6-string bass that's been modified with 2 EMG jazz bass pickups and an active EMG P-bass pickup. I'll be putting the pickup selector in the position that has all 3 pickups going, both jazz bass pickups and the P-bass pickup. The signal chain will be into the Zoom, out of the left and right 1/4 inch outputs into the interface, and everything you're going to hear back is going to be the Zoom unit, no post-production whatsoever. Here's the sound of the bass dry, completely bypassed, just the bass direct. That was the bass dry, just direct, no effects whatsoever. This is a pan delay. That was a pan delay. This is air. That was air. This is ambience. That was ambience. This is analog delay. That was analog delay. This is arena. That was arena. This is carbon delay. That was carbon delay. This is cave. That was cave. This is chamber. That was chamber. This is church. That was church. This is delay. Just generic name for it. Delay. That was delay. This is drive echo. That was drive echo. This is dual digital delay. That was dual digital delay, Dyna delay. That was Dyna delay. This is Dyna reverb. That was Dyna reverb. This is early ref. That was early ref, echo. That was echo, filter delay. That was filter delay. This is filter PPD. That was filter PPD. This is gate rev. That was gate rev. This is hall. That was hall. This is HD hall. That's HD hall. This is HD reverb. That was HD reverb. This is holy flurb. That was holy flurb. This is ice delay. That was ice delay. This is lo-fi delay. That was lo-fi delay. Here's lo-fi rev. That's lo-fi rev. This is mod delay. That was mod delay. Mod delay 2. That was mod delay 2. Mod reverb. That was mod reverb. This is multi-tap D. That was multi-tap D. This is phase delay. That was phase delay. This is pitch delay. That was pitch delay. Wow, that was weird. That was really a weird one. This one's called plate. That was plate. This is reverse delay. That was reverse delay. This is reverse reverb. That was reverse reverb. This is room. That was room. Slap back. That was slap back. This is slap back D. That was slap back D. This is slow attack delay. That was slow attack delay. Here's smooth delay. That was smooth delay. This is spring. That was spring. This is spring 63. That was spring 63. This is stereo delay. That was stereo delay. This is stomp delay. That was stomp delay. This is tape echo. That was tape echo. This is tape echo 3. That was tape echo 3. This is tiled room. That was tiled room. This is trem delay. That was trem delay. Last but not least is tremolo reverb. That was tremolo reverb. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So today we're going to be comparing the OBD3 model in the Zoom MS-60B compared to the actual real thing. I actually have a Boss OBD3, so I'm going to be able to make this comparison. I'll be using my Ibanez Geo Series 6-string bass that has 2 EMG jazz bass active pickups and an EMG active P bass pickup. I'll be setting the selector in the position that utilizes all 3 pickups, both jazz bass pickups and the P bass pickup. For the signal chain, it's going to be a little different than usual. So basically, I'm going from my bass into this Boss AB2 two-way selector. A is going out of there and going to the Zoom unit. B is going out of there and going into the actual Boss ODB3. So whenever you see A lit up, that's the Zoom unit. Whenever you see B lit up, that's the Boss unit. B for Boss. Easy for me to remember that way. And out of each one of the outputs, they're both going into their own inputs on their own tracks on the interface. And everything that you're going to hear back is going to be just the OBD3, the actual Boss one, and the model in the Zoom unit. No post-production whatsoever. All right, this is the OBD model in the Zoom unit. Now, the actual Boss OBD3. I kind of had the OBD3 model in the actual Zoom unit, just kind of set to defaults. So let's see what we got here. And I'm going to try to set up the same thing on the actual pedal itself. Okay, I've got the settings matched pretty much exactly. And as well, I actually have both of the inputs on my interface set exactly the same, and the inputs in my DAW set exactly the same. There might be a little bit of volume difference because even though one's a model of the actual, they are different units. Now this is the OBD3 in the Zoom again. All right, now let's go to the actual Boss unit again. Now, this is the actual Boss unit. Significant difference in volume output between the two of them. The Zoom is actually a lot hotter. So I'm going to try and compensate for that now and set them up a little differently. I brought down the volume on the Zoom unit quite a bit. Let's hear how it sounds now. That was the actual Zoom unit. Let's go back to the Boss. Still a significant difference in output volume. I just gave the actual Boss pedal a little bit of a bump on my interface because the volume difference between the two was pretty drastic. Now I've got them about to the same volume and got everything set with the tone controls roughly around the same. Now let's check it out. Let's check out the Zoom unit. That's the Zoom unit. Now, let's check out the Boss unit. This is the Boss unit. Seems to be a little bit lacking in the highs and mids on the actual Boss. I'm going to actually give a little bit more high and a little bit more low on the Boss unit itself. We're still on the Boss unit. Let's hear this now. That was a little adjustment to the Boss unit. Let's go back to the Zoom. That was the Zoom. Now to compensate, there's actually, on the actual Boss unit, you can actually see there's actually a low and high cut, where here, it just says tone. All right, made an adjustment to the tone knob on the Zoom unit. Let's hear that. Now let's compare that to the Boss unit again. That was on the actual Boss unit. All right, I adjusted the settings a little bit again to make sure that they're similar on both. Here's the Zoom unit. Here's the Boss unit. All right, just took the level down on the Boss unit and took a little bottom out. That was the Boss unit with some slight adjustments to the low end and the level down a little bit. Let's compare that now with the Zoom. This is the Boss unit with a little more highs on there, a little high cut. That was the Boss unit with a little more high cut on it. Let's go back to the Zoom unit. Back over to the Boss. Made some adjustments to the Boss unit. Back over to the Zoom. Back over to the Boss. That's starting to sound pretty close to me now with some adjustments. As you can see, gain, level, both cranked on both units. Got the balance at 50%, and the tone is at 50% on the actual Zoom unit, but on the actual Boss, I got the low and high cut down to about 11 o'clock. And to me, it's sounding pretty close. Here's the Zoom unit once again. Now, back to the Boss unit. That's That's about as close as I think I can get them to sounding alike. So, what did you guys think? Do you think the actual model in the Zoom unit sounds close enough like the actual Boss OBD3? Or did you maybe even like the model of the Boss OBD3 better than the original? Leave a comment down below. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. So what's going on, everybody? I've done 8 videos on this so far, and this would be my 9th. And I have to say, this thing is an exceptional value. This unit's build quality is fantastic. All metal, with the exception of the little knobs, pots, whatever you want to call them. That's okay. You won't be stepping on those anyways. Also, the sounds in this thing are actually really good. Quite a few really good sounds. And again, just like any other multi-effects unit, not every sound in it is fantastic. But this thing costs just a little over $100, which makes it a crazy value. You can find more than enough effects/sounds to make it worth the cost. Like I've said on many of the other multi-effects units, there are single pedals that do 1 or maybe 2 things that cost $300 and up. You can find more than enough effects, sounds to make it worth the cost. Since this is a single stomp box unit, the I/O is a little bit limited. Single 1/4 inch input, left and right 1/4 inch outputs. You can run it in stereo. It also has a USB mini B type connector for connecting it to a computer so you can use the PC or Mac software editor, which works quite well. The USB cable can also power it via USB bus, but you can also power it up with an AC adapter or 2 AA batteries. Both, I believe, sold separately. I can't remember. It may have came with a couple AA batteries, but definitely does not come with the AC adapter. For the sounds, my favorite out of this unit are the synth sounds. The synth sounds are absolutely fantastic. Just absolutely love them. Second would be the compressors. The compressors in this thing are fantastic. I use a compressor on my clean sound as a always-on compressor. And there's a lot of options for different compressors. Just based on those 2 right there is a great value for a pedal like this. Not to mention that some of the amp sims are not bad also. And the distortions are also quite good. I don't tend to use a lot of effects on bass. Basically an amp sim with an IR, compressor always on, synth sound, distortion sound, and the odd octave sound, maybe a wah sometimes. With the exception of the wah, this pedal has them all, and has pretty good ones. At least one of each that I found usable. I got this pedal because of its size. At the time, with the setup I had very little room left on my pedal boards, so I needed a pedal that was really small. My main complaint with this pedal is that the foot switch on it is actually not a standard size. It will not work with any pedal foot switch toppers, and I purchased quite a few, and none of them worked. It's okay. They didn't go to waste. I use them on other pedals. This makes it quite hard to hit the foot switch for me. Also, I eventually got tired of having to hit the foot switch multiple times to cycle through all of my patches. I know that the limitation is because it's a single stomp box unit with only 1 foot switch. For example, I use 4 sounds on this unit. All had an amp sim and an always-on compressor. First one was my clean sound, A, and the second one had a synth sound, B. The third one had a distortion sound, C, and the fourth sound had an octave, D. So you'd have to hit this button multiple times to cycle through all A, B, C, or D. Again, I know this is a limitation because it's a single button stomp box pedal. So if I was on my clean sound A and I wanted an octave sound, I would have to hit the foot switch 3 times, which would put me on the octave sound. Then, if I wanted to go from that octave sound to a synth sound, I would have to hit the foot switch 2 times. that would bring me to the synth sound. I eventually got tired of having to cycle through the sounds in order to get the sound I wanted. For this reason, I ended up changing around my pedal board setup and getting the Zoom B14 that has 2 foot switches. That way I can patch up or patch down or use the stomp box mode to switch effects on and off or to switch patches. I will point out that I have seen some examples of people making their own foot switches to be able to patch up and patch down for all of the multi-stomp units. However, I've never seen a place where you can actually purchase said foot switches. Thanks for checking out this video. Do what makes you happy. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like, comment, and share. It doesn't cost a thing and would really help out the channel. Also, please subscribe to my other channel, GK Mac Music, for some live looping live streams with a side of jackassery, some original music, and some short content, also with a side of jackassery. If you'd like to help out the channel financially, you can buy some merch at the merch store, or you can become a channel member. As always, everyone, thanks so much for your continued support. Do what makes you happy.